Welcome to the Millennial Mic.
I'm Ali.
I'm Joe,
And this is the Millennial Mic.
Content for us, by us.
Hi, Joe.
Hi,
I'm so
Ali.
excited for today's episode. Are you excited?
I'm so excited because today's conversation features the young and fearless Amanda Taylor. Amanda is the founder and CEO of the Unplugged Collective, as seen in Vogue, Teen Vogue, and more. Unplugged shares stories and resources that center the mental and physical health of women and gender expansive people. Not only is Amanda a full-time change maker, but she's a full-time student at Barnard College, and where she is a joint women's gender and sexuality studies and Africana studies major. She grew up in Jamaica and has always been a musician, singer, songwriter who enjoys all things creative, especially the artistic elements of Unplugged. So Amanda, welcome to the Millennial Mic.
Wow, thank you so much, Ali and Joe. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for joining us. So, Amanda, we want to know what's one item that you must have in your handbag or backpack or wallet at all times?
Well, before COVID, it was lip gloss, but now with the mask, I don't know, it's probably a mask.
Probably a mask. Yeah, I think I'm a toss up between my mask and my hand sanitizer.
Oh,
The
yeah.
other day, I went into the supermarket without my mask on, and I had to run back to the car
back to the car.
frantically.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so mask is the number
Is
one item right now.
essential. Okay. So Amanda, what's your favorite song right now?
Switch It Up by Protege.
Woo!
So are you ready to give us a sample?
Definitely not. But I've been trying to catch Coffee's verse, like, embarrassingly by myself.
Okay, all right, just give us like a one line.
Like a one line.
You don't even have to sing
Definitely
it.
not. You guys, I'm not gonna do that.
Amanda is having the same level of resistance that I had. Okay.
Yeah, just to let you know, Amanda, I'm on a mission to get Ali to sing for us, but
Oh my
there's a bit of resistance.
But we
so
have Protege
understand.
coming on the show.
Yeah.
So I promised Joe Marie that when I have Protege's support beside me,
Yeah.
We'll do it.
I'll consider
Yeah.
doing it. Okay, Amanda, this is the last of these kinds of questions, we promise. If you had to eat the same breakfast every day for the rest of your life, what would be on your plate?
Oh my gosh, guys.
I know. These are going to be harder than the actual questions for the podcast.
Can I say a smoothie? Does that count?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys
I
have.
was sure you were coming with the Aki and selfish response.
Oh my, no, that might be it. That might take the cake.
Plot twist.
Yeah, I was gonna. I don't know if you guys have been to Jamaica Juice in Sovereign.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a mango smoothie that if I could have that every day for the rest of my life, I would.
Be happy.
So good. Yeah.
Okay, plug for Jamaica Juice in Sovereign.
Mango smoothie.
Anytime you come to visit Kingston, Jamaica, go for Amanda's recommendation.
Mango Mania it's called.
Yeah. So now that we know Amanda's, stance on breakfast and the importance of that mango smoothie, we're gonna jump right in to the questions. And what we want to know, Amanda, is what is the origin or the starting story for the Unplugged Collective, and why did you choose to take on that vocation?
Yeah, so I was in college. I mean, I'm in college, but I was in my freshman year in college, and that's supposed to be the best 4 years of your life. It's supposed to be the happiest time of your life. I mean, that's at least what people tell you. And my mental health and physical health were rapidly declining. I didn't even know really what mental and physical health meant. I'd never really had those conversations. But I realized there are a lot of people around me who were also having the same issues, felt really alone in certain ways, felt a lot of anxiety, felt parts of their health feeling different or off. And I realized a lot of people were talking, but nobody was really listening, or at least not enough people were listening. And so I wanted to create a platform where anybody could share their story. There wasn't going to be any kind of formal pitching process. You didn't have to be a writer. You just had to be someone who wanted to share. And, we spend so much time on social media. So I felt like if we're going to do that, let's at least make it into some kind of space that we can share positive things and support each other in some way. So I didn't know what it was going to turn into. I just said, guys, I'm going to make a blog. I'm not going to talk about my own story. I just want to hear everyone else's story. And then suddenly there was like this huge outpour of stories that I was not expecting. And it's just been that way since. It's been about a year and 7 months and the stories have not stopped.
Organic
Yeah.
and beautiful.
And what's interesting in terms of the stories that you would have come across and creating that avenue and that safe space for people to share, you touched on mental health and the importance of having those conversations. And what we want to know is if you had to give like a practical tip in terms of really just having people start to have those
Mhm.
conversations with a bit more comfort and a bit more openness, what would that tip be?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question because I think this is something I talk about a lot through Unplug is that these conversations are not really accessible. A lot of the times in the mental health space, they're using words and terminologies and things that we just were not given growing up. And they were just not conversations that we were having, words that we were using. So I think honestly, it sounds really straightforward, but the first thing I would do is start following Instagram accounts that are already in that space, that are already trying to break down these terms and these ideas and have these conversations as a starting point. Especially if therapy isn't really something that's accessible to you or your friends aren't really talking about this stuff, just start by following the accounts and seeing what comes up. Because I think what people don't realize, or what I didn't realize, is that just because you don't have the name for what you're going through doesn't mean you don't know what you're going through. And when you start seeing these conversations happening, you're like, oh, I'm going through that. Maybe I should reach out for support in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you talk about that, Amanda. I mean, I'll share that in my household, for example, we were really open about mental health and mental illness, and it played such a huge role in my own mental health and diagnosis. So I have generalized anxiety disorder, and I've benefited so greatly from cognitive behavioral therapy. And I found even before I started cognitive behavioral therapy, which I felt really lucky to be able to do in a really practical way when I was away at school, whether in undergrad or grad school, was I did a lot of reading about CBT online, as well as watched like a number of videos. So it's so nice now seeing spaces like Unplugged pop up where those resources are like in my feed, for example. So from someone who suffers from, anxiety, I want to say thank you to you for making those resources more accessible. And I would love to hear more about, your own journey with mental health and how that's influenced the work that you do with Unplug.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I mean, I wish it was something. First of all, thank you for being so open about your own diagnosis because that's something that, can be really difficult but so refreshing when you're on the receiving end and you're someone who is also experiencing that. So I also have generalized anxiety.
Hey girl, hey.
So yeah, I do. And I actually didn't know.
We obviously both have, or I'm assuming that you probably have high functioning GAD. Yeah, which is really easily disguised, right?
Right.
It's, I always used to be so conscious of my GAD as if it was a negative characteristic or attribute of mine, when so much of what I'm able to do is as a result of GAD.
Absolutely.
So I think also learning to value your mental health for its quirks and differences is so important too. But
Yeah.
please, sorry, keep telling us more.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, just for anyone listening who doesn't really know much about GAD, so generalized anxiety disorder is, and Ali, you can add on too, but is you know something that is not necessarily situational. So it's not like you might go outside and you might have a panic attack because you're nervous about people looking at you or being in public spaces. It's not the anxiety that is shown in the media. It is just like generally throughout the day you might be experiencing bouts of anxiety that are almost nonstop. So it becomes almost a norm for you that is
Right.
really hard to pick up on because you're just used to feeling on edge and almost doing things. Almost all of your actions are rooted in this kind of adrenaline rush of like, I need to complete this now, so I'm going to do it now. And so for people who are high functioning, they end up, you know, a lot of their drive is in this very like, I have to do this now, I have to complete this now, and not necessarily from
Right.
a place of like, do I want to do this? Do I feel comfortable doing this? Is this something that serves me? So it can be very tough to spot, especially in a world that tells you like the more you accomplish is the more successful you
Yeah.
are, and the more healed you are,
Productivity is such a
and the more presentable you are. So that's GAD, but they say that mental illness comes in threes, and that's a really hard pill to swallow. Obviously, that's not everybody's case, but my first kind of entry point into the mental illness world was through an eating disorder. And it was actually in Jamaica that I got that diagnosis, and I had like a Jamaican therapist. And I think diet culture in Jamaica and just this idea that like you have to restrict the amount of food you eat and that you have to look a certain way and fit a certain mold is almost so normalized that I didn't even know that there was an illness that was associated with that. And it's a conversation that is not had enough and needs to be had. But it your relationship to food can show up as self-harm. It can be a form of self-harm. It can be a mental illness, and in my case it was. And it wasn't until I started getting help for my eating disorder that my psychiatrist also said, have you taken a depression test? Have you taken an anxiety test? Because a lot of the times they feed into each other. So that has been my experience, and it's been a very lonely one, just because it's not, as I said, it's not a conversation that I ever had until I had to have it, until I had to seek help because I realized something was off in my life, and I just want that entry point to be easier for people and quicker.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize too, if anyone is listening to this podcast and feels as though they need additional support and mental health resources, please feel free to email us or contact us through our social media pages so that we can direct you to some of those resources, including Amanda's page and the Unplugged page, so that you feel supported and as though your journey is not lonely, because it does not need to be. And in even having this conversation, I think Amanda, Jo Marie, and I all feel less lonely in experiencing different things that we experience. So we want to ensure that our audience has that experience as well.
Absolutely.
So please don't hesitate to reach out. Amanda, I want to shift gears a little bit. It's connected, but really is a part of the Unplug page experience that I want to ask you about. So the social media content really emphasizes the need for feminism that is inclusive of Black women. And I want you to tell us a bit more about why that's so critical to the work that you do and to feminism overall.
Yeah, I mean, I go to Barnard, which is a women's college in New York. It's a part of Columbia, obviously, as you know, Ali. And I'm, as you said, a joint women gender studies major and an Africana studies major. Two things that I had no idea I could even study in college because they don't sound necessarily pre-professional. They're more so about identity. But it's a lesson in the fact that you need to do more of what feeds you and excites you and less of what is expected of you, because that is how Unplug was born. And so kind of having this experience in school where I was literally being given like Black feminist textbooks to read for my homework, and they were all just talking about how Black women are the most oppressed group of people on this earth, or in the world. I mean that in different contexts, Black women have different experiences, but just overall, the media is not centering Black women's experiences. And if they are, it's a very reduced version. It's the version of our experiences that is whatever, palatable, or that people want to be entertained by. But how many Black women's stories are being told in the most raw and true form? How many spaces are supporting Black women and saying, show up as you are, tell me how you're feeling, tell me how I can support you. Not that many. I think we live in a world where Black women are expected to carry the world on our shoulders. We're expected to be everyone's support system. And I think feminism, which is a touchy word for some people, but I feel like what it really is, I don't think it's that complicated. It's literally just saying that we all deserve rights. Even bare minimum. We all deserve to be equally cared for and supported, whether that's through a legal lens, a social lens, a political lens, an economic lens, right? So I think when it comes down to feminism, it can't be about equal rights if Black women aren't included in that conversation. It just, what's the point if we're not? So that's where Unplugged ties into all of that, because it's literally just a space that says show up as you are, like Tammy Chin Mitchell always says. It's a space that says share what you're going through. We're here to support you. It's a non-judgmental space, and it's a space that is saying we believe you, we see you, we hear you, despite what society says that we should be saying or how we should be responding, kind of just shifting the way that we talk about our stories.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and as you speak about shifting, Amanda, one of the things that came to mind when you spoke about the portrayal and the representation of Black women specifically is that there are a lot of stereotypes and there are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things that are attributed to Black women that simply are not true or simply do not represent the full picture and fullness
Right.
of what Black women represent. And
Mm-hmm.
so we want to know, what is a stereotype about feminism and the representation of Black women that you just wish simply didn't exist and really needs to be eliminated?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I think I'm gonna go with this one, which is the strong Black woman stereotype. Because I think that though Black women are extremely strong, that is a choice. That is not inherent or innate. That is something that we've had to learn because we've been socialized. Not that we've been socialized, but that we are treated as though we are strong and as though the world can throw anything at us and we'll still be standing and we'll still be there to take care of everyone else. And I think that stereotype is really detrimental because it says, what if I'm weak? What if I can't show up? What if I'm not strong today? Am I allowed to be any other thing other than strong? I think it's dangerous, and I don't think that we do it to anyone else. We don't. It's well-meaning, and I think it's one of those things that people see as a very positive thing. We're strong, whatever, but that is, as you said, not the full picture. It's too one-dimensional.
Yeah. And something that we picked up on in terms of the way in which you portray and the way in which you curate your social media is that you post so many different body types and sizes on the page.
Yeah.
And we just want to know, what kind of feedback do you get and why did you feel the need to be so intentional about creating that open and free space for women?
Yeah, that's a lovely question. I mean, at least once a day, I get a DM saying, "Thank you so much. This either gave me access to something I didn't know, or this made me realize that I'm struggling with this problem and I need to reach out for help." I mean, it's so much work kind of curating this feed, finding these content creators, finding and editing these stories, but the reaction process and the support system that is built from it's so worth it. And I think um, what is the most important thing that for people to understand is that this rigid way of seeing body types and of talking about bodies, a good body versus a bad body, when there are people and human beings who live within those bodies, is really detrimental to mental health. Like, we can't talk about or dismantle mental health issues without talking about the way that people are perceived and the way that they're treated as a result of how they're perceived. And I understand that everybody has their own body goals or their own ideas about what makes them comfortable, but it is not an excuse to treat people worse or differently because they don't have the body that you aspire for or to be in. And I think that's something that is just not spoken about enough. When you're posting your pictures about, what your body looks like and how proud you are of it, it's not to say that you shouldn't be doing that, but are you treating people with different bodies differently, or are you judging, or do you have a certain energy towards them? And if you do, think about how that might be affecting that person's mental health, and think about, and I guess this is where the unplugged education comes in. So we have the, visual representation, but we also have the stories from those people, and also the research that talks about, the BMI and how that has been historically rooted in medical discrimination, and this idea that there are normal versus underweight versus overweight. Those ideas and those, categories were created a very long time ago and for certain purposes, and that's just a whole other conversation that you can look up on Unplug. We have a lot of posts about that, but it really is the fact that just like eye color, just like skin color, people's bodies, people have different body types, people have different body shapes. And so to have this one standard of body or beauty for people to aspire to, when some people will quite literally never have an hourglass figure or never have, whatever the standard is at the time, is really detrimental. So that's where that comes from. Just normalizing that people deserve respect no matter what you think about them or they think about them.
Absolutely. So Amanda, I have to ask, who supports you, and where do you go for a break or a creative release, and how do you practice valuing your own body and preserving your self-worth as you do a lot of what I think is hard work?
Yeah, it is. I do a lot of what I've learned to name as intuitive exercise, which means that instead of being super hard on myself, and instead of saying, if I don't work out 7 days a week, I'm not motivated and I'm lazy and this and that, it's just, what do I feel like doing today? How am I going to move my body today in a way that's going to serve me? Do I want to ride my bike? Do I want to dance? Do I want to go to the gym? Do I want to lift weights? Do I want to strengthen the core? What do I want to do today? I'm trying to make movements a part of my daily life because of the endorphins and because of the internal benefits, instead of only focusing on the external, because I can't be fostering this environment if I too am not practicing, equally prioritizing my mental health and my physical health. And I think reaching out to friends, and my friend, I just have such an amazing support system and amazing friends. And I think you can have amazing friends and still be scared to reach out and still feel like you're a burden if you do share with them. And I think, especially in quarantine, I've kind of just had to try and let go of that kind of misconception that if I do reach out, then they're not gonna care about me anymore, or they're gonna think I'm doing too much, or I'm a lot. Like, I want my friends to reach out when they're not doing okay. So I need to kind of get comfortable with that, and that has been so, especially when we don't have quality time that we can spend with people in person, just saying, hey, do you want to call, can we call, can just be so groundbreaking.
Yeah, I was telling a friend the other day, because he was sharing with me that sometimes he worries about sharing with me because maybe I might be burdened by the things going on in my life. And I was sharing with him that, I think of my emotional bandwidth, I guess, as different buckets, right? So even if the alley bucket is full, I still have a bucket free for my friends, or for each friend has a bucket, right? And I think reciprocal relationships rely on holding that space for people in our life. But I know, Amanda, that it can totally be a symptom of anxiety as well, to feel as though you're too burdening to someone else. And so again, at this point in the episode, I really just want to reaffirm to anyone who is listening that you are not burdensome. what you're dealing with is valuable and important, and people in your life want to support you and hear about it.
Yeah.
So Amanda, kind of on that note, I wanted to ask you, it's something that we do every episode with all of our guests, but really we want to understand from you, especially in light of this conversation, what's your favorite resource right now, outside of Unplug, obviously. I would say Unplug is one of my favorite resources right now,
Thank you.
for just getting really great and inspirational content. But where do you go to read or learn, that really positively impacts you?
I think other accounts that are doing kind of similar work. I know I think I've seen you repost iWay.
Yes,
So
I love iWay.
yeah, iWay is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Erica Hart,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna find her. It's IHART, Erica.
Mm-hmm.
She posts a lot about, disrupting racial, social, gender norms. She's a sex educator. She's having conversations that I myself, I'm not even ready to be having, but she's really amazing. And then there's also a page called No White Saviors, which really shakes things up. So those are my three
Love
top
it.
top pages right now.
Okay, awesome. We'll be sure to put those resources on our website and socials as well, so that our audience can have access to them.
Oh my gosh, wait, there's one more. This is a big one. So Join Real is their
Join
Instagram
Real.
account. I'm very close friends with the founder. She just launched a huge mental health company that offers group therapy for $25 a month, but it's
Wow.
very specific. So there are pathways. For example, if you've just had a breakup, you can choose a relationship pathway, and you'll have
Right.
12 therapy sessions just about that. And
Oh,
it's
wow.
amazing, and it's affordable. So definitely check out Join Real.
Awesome. We definitely will, and we'll definitely share that as well.
So, Amanda, what we want to know in terms of, just listening to your conversation thus far and just hearing all that you have to share, we really want to know who has helped to shape you in being the woman, the powerful woman that you are today, and really has mentorship played a key role in becoming the person you are?
I think that's a tough question. I always think about, who are my mentors? Who do I look up to? And the only people I can ever really come back to are the women in my life. I'm just seeing, my mom, my grandma, just seeing the way that they pushed through and always looked forward to better when in times where I don't even know how they did. So I think just having that like really strong work ethic and also care and kindness and care for the community, care for healing. I mean, I don't think they use those words, but I saw my grandma at church, helping the women who were around her, and I saw my mom, being a very caring and healing person. So I think just seeing that has really inspired me. And also, I don't think we typically call our friends our mentors, but a lot of my friends have really been mentors for me.
Yes, pair mentorship.
Yes.
I'm here for it.
Yes. So just really being people who have pushed me to say, this is where you are at in your life. Where do you want to go next? What can I do to support you in that process has been amazing. And I'm very grateful.
Awesome.
That's great.
So Amanda, where can our audience reach you? On social media, a website? Is there a LinkedIn account that you like? People to reach out to you on an email.
Of course, I'm always open to have these conversations. I'm not really on the page itself. So our Instagram page is the Unplugged Collective, and our website is www.theunpluggedcollective.com. I make the intentional decision of not really posting myself because I want everyone to feel like it's almost a community magazine and a collective space, so they don't feel like I'm like the leader of it or the face of it. But you can always reach out to me. I'm literally the one behind all of the captions. It is my voice. So if you do feel connected to Unplug in that way and you want to have more conversations, my Instagram account is at Amanda Liz Taylor. And I'm also on LinkedIn. I think if you just type in my name and unplug, it will probably pop up. And yeah, I'm open to continuing.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for what has truly been an illuminating conversation. We've touched on the importance of mental health, the need to eliminate stereotypes, and importantly, the need to create safe spaces for people to really be comfortable and happy in their authenticity.
Woo!
So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ali.
Yeah. So as you know, after every episode, we do a mentorship giveaway. So we're inviting everyone to follow us on Instagram and Twitter to enter, or email us at bookings@themillennialmic.com. Just a gentle reminder that millennial has 2 L's and 2 N's for your chance to win a mentorship session with Amanda Taylor. So you can go on Spotify, Buzzsprout, YouTube, or any other podcast platform and like the Millennial Mic, comment on our social media, subscribe to our channels, and tell us who you want to hear from, what you want to learn about, and well, if the Millennial Mic content is clicking for you. So, Amanda, there's something that we do at the end of each show that we're gonna ask your help with. And what we normally do is we normally go, I'm Ali. Well, Ali would say, I'm Ali. And then I'd go, I'm Joe. And then you'll go, I'm Amanda. And then we'll all say together, this has been the Millennial Mic. So we'll do our test run to make sure you're comfortable. And then we can run through it properly after. So 1, 2, 3.
I'm Ali.
I'm Joe.
I'm Amanda.
And this has been the Millennial Mic.
Okay. I'll have it next time.
All right, one more time.
And,
In 3.
And this has been the Millennial Mic, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
In 3, and 2, and 1. I'm Ali.
I'm Joe.
I'm Amanda.
And this has been the Millennial Mic.
We got it.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Have a Thank you for listening to The Millennial Mic. Don't forget to visit our website at www.themillennialmic.com. See you next time.